So I would say menopause is not a condition, but it is a natural phenomenon where there is cessation of the menstrual cycles. And this can be termed only when a woman has gone without periods for around 12 consecutive months. Till then, we do not term it as menopause. Now, we have two types. We have natural menopause and we have sudden menopause. Natural menopause is a permanent cessation of menstruation, and we know that it's a normal part of aging. It typically occurs in women in their late 40s, they're around 48 to 50s, that is within 60. So, and that is termed as natural menopause, whereas sudden menopause is when surgically the female has got her ovaries removed. So that is a period where she completely stops with her menstrual cycle. We can divide this menopause into perimenopause, that is called as a menopausal transition period. You have the proper menopause and the postmenopausal period. Now we'll see what each one has, the changes in a woman. Now perimenopause or menopause transition, when we say, it usually begins 8 to 10 years before the actual menopause is attained. And this is where the ovaries gradually start producing less estrogen. And this usually, as I said, it starts in the women's 40s. And it lasts up to the menopausal period where the ovaries completely stop releasing the ovum. And it's only 1 to 2 years of perimenopause, there is a drop in estrogen. The last 1 to 2 years, say a female has started with menopausal symptoms in around 43, 44, say maybe till 48, she will have these lower estrogen level. But just 2 years before attaining menopause, there is a excessive loss in estrogen or a decrease in the estrogen hormone. Okay, and menopause, as we termed, women is said to have menopause when she is not had a periods for 12 consecutive months. Now the postmenopausal period, these are years after attaining the menopause. And this is the period where it results in the lower level of estrogen. And this is the time where these women are at increased risk for number of health conditions, but most importantly is the bone health and the heart health, which we are concerned in postmenopausal period. Now we know that medications such as there are much controversial researches which are put on hormonal therapy. But yes, hormonal therapy after evaluation can be started to maintain the estrogen level. And a healthy lifestyle. What we can do is, we can do much to improve a healthy lifestyle and exercises, which are, almost replicating the effect of medications what a menopause women will take. Now, there's a term called as premature menopause. Now, this usually happens when the female has attained her puberty in her, before her 12 years of life, or say around 9 years, 10 years. So these females will have even early menopause. So instead of saying early menopause, if these ladies have menopause before 40, they are called as premature menopause. So we consider 45 and above, that is a perimenopause period. But before the age of 45, we will term it as premature menopause, and before the age of 40, we term it as, before age of 45, early menopause, and before 40, premature menopause. But some women can experience menopause early because of surgical intervention, but that is not taken as a natural menopause. It can be due to hysterectomy, or it could be due to chemotherapy where the ovaries are no more able to produce the ovum. Now, coming to the main aspects, after all this introduction about menopause, what actually happens in a menopausal woman? Now we know that the ovaries are our reproductive glands, and they are producing female hormones, which are estrogen and progesterone. And together they are controlling the menstruation. Now, the traditional changes, as we think of menopause, will happen when the ovaries are no more producing the ovum. So no more they are producing high levels of hormones as well. What is the role of estrogen on the body? Estrogen is the one which is helping the body to use calcium, and it is maintaining the normal cholesterol levels in the blood. So imagine if there is a decline in estrogen, that means the body's ability to consume calcium is going to reduce, and its ability to maintain the cholesterol levels in the blood is going to reduce. That means you will have less calcium in the body and you will have high levels of cholesterol in the body. Now, it also helps in controlling the body weight. Now, when they did an experiment on lab animals, the animals which had lower estrogen level, they were seen to eat more and be less physically active. So the same applies even in humans. That is, with a lower level of estrogen, these females will start eating more and be less physically active because it's a hormone which is making her body do that. Right. Now the body uses starches and blood sugars less effectively. That means there is a storage of starch, there's a storage of blood sugar because it's not utilized. Now this is where there is an increase in fat storage, and it makes very harder for this age females to lose weight even if you are putting them on an exercise program. So yes, estrogen reduction also will reduce the metabolic rate. So they will have a lower metabolic rate. And this is again where the body is converting the stored energy into working energy. So with a lower body metabolic rate, the body's ability to convert this energy is going to be reduced. So again, that is going to add on to the weight. Now this was about the hormonal changes during menopause. Now coming to the symptoms, we'll go into the details of each. But this is the picture which is showing overall, that is head to toe, there are changes in a menopausal lady. Yes, if you say she becomes more irritable, she has mood swings, right? Thinning of the scalp hair, the firmness of the breast is lost, so they become more saggy, they lose muscle mass. As I said, risk of heart damage or diseases because of stored cholesterols. Yes, urinary incontinence because of pelvic floor weakness, because of again added laxity because of her deliveries. Bone health is at risk because calcium is not utilized. Amenorrhea and increased risk of vaginal infection. There's vaginal dryness. There is problems with sexual functions. There's loss of elasticity and there is thinning of the skin. So she will feel that, she is having wrinkles on the face, muscle mass, and overall she is going in for an atrophy of the muscles. So to come into a little more about symptoms, yes, hot flashes are the first symptom what a female is complaining in her perimenopausal period. So almost around 8 years, she is suffering from hot flashes before she attains menopause. So hot flashes is a sudden feel of warmth that you run to your workplace or you are suddenly stressed out with something. You feel that warmth is spreading over your upper body. So that is a main complaint in a postmenopausal, in a perimenopausal woman. It usually lasts up to say 10 to 15 years, but after that it stabilizes. Now night sweat, or we called as cold flashes, vaginal dryness, because as I said, the normal functioning of the vagina is going to be reduced. Now in Indian scenario, let's be frank, when we say that a lady is a menopausal period or a postmenopausal period, for them having sexual function or having coital activity is like a taboo. They usually, if we have seen our ancestors after menopause, they do not have coitus. So that is reducing the normal function of the vagina. Usually when the function of the vagina is carried out, it will keep it lubricated and functioning. But when this activity is reduced, they will have vaginal dryness. There is an urge in micturition, that is a pressing need. You can have again any type of it depending upon their weight to pelvic floor weakness. So urine urgency can be put in any type of incontinence. Difficulty in sleeping, yes, insomnia could be related to many other changes in her life as well. Emotional changes like she is irritable, she has mood swings, and mild depression. Yeah, as I said, skin, eyes, and mouth can also, they experience dryness of these organs. Okay, and now when the female is in menopause transition, that is a perimenopausal period, she may experience breast tenderness. There's kind of a lump feeling before a week before her menstrual cycles. So that will worsen the premenstrual syndrome. She will have irregular periods, or she may have skipped periods. She may get periods every 20 days, or she may have it for 1.5 months. Even if she's getting it regularly after every month, she may have delay in her she may have longer bleeding days. So this will contribute to irregular periods, and periods are heavier or lighter than the usual what she was having before her perimenopausal period. Now, there are certain physical changes and which are, impairing the conditions or impaired functions. Yes, because of the sagging of the breast, muscle loss, she will go in for excessive kyphosis. There could be a flattening of the lumbar spine or hyperlordosis. There can be postural changes like a forward head posture. Genu valgum varum related to sinking of the bone, that is the meniscal area, and the condyles. So she may go in for, usually because when we see the hip position biomechanically, they usually go in for a varus deformity. And conditions, she may end up having osteopenia, that is a process just before osteoporosis, urinary incontinence, decreased range of motion, maybe spine, knees, which are mostly affected because of osteoporosis, joint pain, decreased exercise endurance, and decreased balance. So these are certain changes that a menopausal women will experience. But two things we'll have to remember, which are the major health risks which are associated with menopause. That is, first is osteoporosis, where we can play a very important role. This is also termed as brittle bone disease, and this is where the bone is going to become less dense, making them more fragile and likely to get fractured. And estrogen, as we know, that's a hormone which is important in preserving bone mass. So when estrogen starts falling, this signals the cells in the bone to stop breaking down. So women lose an average of 25% of their bone mass from the time of menopause to age 60 due to decline in the estrogen level. I will show you that graph, how the percentage of bone loss is there. And our students had done this study where they tried to see the muscle mass in Indian postmenopausal, that is, our setting. So it was an observational study, and we have checked around 100 postmenopausal women, and we found that yes, the mean BMI was around 28.75, and around 38% ladies had changes in their muscle girth measurements, and 43% had changes in their skin fold measurement. These are the highlights of this study. That means average, they had a reduction in their muscle, that is the girth, skin fold, and BMI was slightly overweight because their waist hip ratio was higher. Now, this is a graph, as I said, there is an alteration in the bone mass with age. Now, this is a graph which is showing, say this is around 15 years, right? Our bone mass starts developing up to 32 years, say somewhere 32 or so. Now, this up to 47 years, the bone mass is maintained. So this is a peak bone mass, and it is plateaued. It is nicely maintained up to 47. Now, if the female, say here the menopause is taken at around 54 age. Now with treatment, now the upper line is showing with treatment, and this is without treatment. So if the female is taking any treatment like exercise or hormonal therapy, or she is maintaining her healthy lifestyle, then the bone mass reduction is going to be much lesser as compared to the women who are going to lead their life without any measures. So you see that now here you can see that there is a drastic decline after 60 to 63 years, right, in the bone mass. And the same will apply to the muscle mass as well. That is, if you see this at 25 years, we have 100% muscle mass, that we are healthy. Now, say around 40 years, there is a 10% reduction, right? 10% reduction in the muscle mass. And it is after 40 to 70 years, you have 8% loss in the muscle mass. But after 70, the muscle mass starts again reducing at the rate of 15%. So you say that is at less than 70 years is the zone where the risk of death is high. We will not come to that. But we know that there is a very steep decline in the muscle mass after 40. Now that was all about osteoporosis, bone health and muscle mass. Coming to the second major problem where the women are at risk is the coronary artery disease. We know that there is narrowing, blockage of the artery with fatty plaque, and this is where it is known as atherosclerosis. Now, why does this build up? This build up is directly associated with the high levels of cholesterol, which is stored in the blood, which is not being synthesized by reduction in the estrogen level. So what can we do? A healthy diet we can prescribe, and a regular exercise program can be the best option to overcome or to prevent this condition. Now there is, yes, a very high risk. We can see that suddenly after 45 there is increased weight gain, risk of weight gain, but at a specific area, right? Muscle mass, yes, skeletal muscle mass is reduced, but weight gain is more at the abdominal and the waist area. So many of the risk of weight gains are well known. We know that high blood pressure, heart disease and diabetes are all related to risk of weight gain. But that extra fat at the waistline will rise more risk for a female, because we know that abdominal fat is directly related to higher sugar levels that are retained in the body. So a bigger waistline is what a menopausal lady will have to experience. Now, this weight gain is also related to lifestyle and genetic factors. We know that genetic factors play an important role in menopause weight gain. If the parents or your siblings have extra weight around the abdomen, you are likely to, but that doesn't mean you can reverse. And even stress. These menopausal women are at stress at a certain age, because maybe the children are suddenly working outside, grown up, they have left, she's alone, she's a divorcee, a widow. That loneliness also adds on to the stresses of life. But if the waist measurement of that female is more than 35 inches, then you should warn her and to help her reverse this trend. Now, what can we do? A best way is getting her into a physical activity, right? She can do anything. There is a tag here. As I said, you do not need to go to the gym to exercise, right? You can do exercise in your workplace, in your home, but it should be, distributed. Like there should be days of aerobic, there should be strengthening days, stretching every day, balancing and pelvic floor muscles, exercising every day. And according to the female's condition, you can teach her weight bearing and non-weight bearing exercise. Say a lady with osteopenia, you can still take her on a weight bearing protocol. But a lady who already has osteoporosis and has severe knee pain, you can go in for non-weight bearing exercises. So we have quite a lot of options to implement. We have a lot of researches where they have given exercise protocols in these women, but low impact exercises are thought to relieve the menopausal symptoms. So aerobic exercise is very the best way of exercising for a beginner and for maintenance as well. I would not say jogging. If everybody, all menopausal women, we do not put them into jogging. But jogging is optional if she is an athlete, if she is a lady who is, who has been jogging since years, then she can still go in for slow jogging. Cycling, swimming, brisk walking are best ways of exercise. Water aerobics, we have a lot of literature now, or studies which are coming up with aqua exercises, so those also can be adopted. Now, you should select physical activity which are using larger muscle groups and will increase the heart rate count. So somewhere, yes, we have a intensity chalk down, how much intensity your female should be exercising, but make sure that larger muscle groups exercises are inculcated in your protocol. Now, if she's a beginner, right, begin with 10 minutes of light activity a day and then gradually increase both intensity and duration. This we know, we do it for all our exercises. So, what are the exercise benefits? Now, we know that with all our exercises, our basic aim is to increase our aerobic capacity, so endurance, strengthening, and balance exercise. Now, for a woman, you should make aware how much she should exercise. So, you teach her about what is target heart rate and how you should track the intensity of exercises. You can simply employ your talk test, what we do in our sittings. Sorry. Now, other deep breathing exercise, yoga, stretching, you can inculcate all those, but just make sure that any women with osteoporosis should not be put on high impact aerobics, right? Because likeliness of fall and fractures because of fragile bone will be invited on this. Now we know that exercise has an effect on the cardiorespiratory system. It will increase the function. It will reduce the metabolic risk associated with the declining estrogen. Now the main aim is it is going to increase the HDL, reduce LDL, triglycerides and fibrinogen. That's the reason it is going to improve the cardiorespiratory function. Okay, it has an additional benefit of reducing blood pressure, strokes, and heart attacks. Now, this term is very important. Exercise also helps in creating a calorie deficit. So that midlife weight gain, what happens in 40s and 50s, that can be reduced if you put her on an exercise program, because when she starts exercising, there will be a calorie deficit. Now, what is calorie deficit? It's the amount of calories that she is going to consume relative to the amount of calories that is required by her body. So that will, automatically put her on a diet. The exercise regime is going to put her on a diet because of the term calorie deficit. Now, it also increases bone mass. Yes, strength training and impact exercise like brisk walking, jogging will definitely improve her activity of the cells. It can also help to offset the decline of bone mineral density and it prevents osteoporosis. So these are all benefits of exercises. A female can prevent low back pain or it also reduces low back pain, because we know that there is a change in the weight shift, the spinal curvatures, the muscle, because when we say the estrogen level is reducing and osteoporosis, spine is one of the site where osteoporosis is occurring, and this can lead to low back pain. So exercise regimens also can help her combat this condition. It reduces stress, mood swings. Now there is a domino effect when you put her on an exercise program. Now what is domino effect? It is like a chain reaction or a cumulative effect. One effect is influencing the other effect. Maybe hot flashes will directly not reduce with exercise program, but with exercise program she will have a calorie deficit, she will manage her weight, she will be more enjoying her exercises, maybe a group exercise, she will start feeling more fit, right? And when she is indulged in certain activity, she may not go in for depression, and then that may reduce the symptoms of menopause. So it is like a cyclic effect. So this we call it as a domino effect. Anyways, we have no much research where it is saying that exercise regimen reduces hot flashes and night sweats directly, but there is a recent Cochrane review which has found a very weak trend of exercise to be more effective than giving nothing to a menopausal lady. So we can still say that exercises are effective in hot flashes and night sweats, and we need to contribute to this research if anybody would like to take it up. Yes, incontinence is a major problem. We are seeing it even in 30s, immediate post delivery as well. Years of just few years after delivery, we need not wait for women to come to 45. Incontinence has started because of our lifestyle, standing activity. There are so many things, we are not paying attention to the pelvic floor as such. We are doing all the exercises. A lady to just shed her weight gain, baby weight gain, what has happened during pregnancy, just going to the gym, she's doing all, um, you know, weight training and exercises which are loading the pelvic floor. So that will cause sudden laxity and stretch of the pelvic floor, leading to incontinence. And menopause women have their own problems which are, causing leakage in urine. So it can be, stress or urge urinary incontinence. And we know that Kegels, but more than Kegels, we have quite a lot of exercises. We have transvaginal trainings when it comes to specialists. So you can simply tell her to draw in and lift up the perivaginal or the rectal anal sphincters. And when you are starting a pelvic floor muscle exercise program, make sure that you start from a gravity eliminated position to sitting and then standing. And first it should be without weights, and then it should be added on with weights. And it can be reinforced with where biofeedback is given. Biofeedback can be with the digital palpation, giving her feedback for contraction, or it can be an instrument that is used to give feedback. But we should tell her that minimum around 60 to up to 120 contraction per day pelvic floor exercises has to be done with her other exercise protocols. Now, the female will ask us when to begin exercise. The first thing is, ask the female that it is never too late to start exercise. She can begin from today, but she should do things which she enjoys. Do not force on an exercise program which the female is not comfortable into. Find out what activity she can do, her time spacing where she can make time for activities. So those can be a protocol can be made by us. So a moderate physical activity is also enough. Whatever she does in her house, that should just get her heart pumping, so that it gives a health benefit to her, so that somewhere her energy is being utilized. The activity should not be very low impact, but it should be fast enough that there is an increase in the heart rate. Now, how much increase in the heart rate? She should at least exercise 2.5 hours of moderate aerobic exercise per week. So you divide this 2.5 hours of exercise, say half an hour every day, right? For five days a week. Yes, now you can ask her to calculate her own target heart rate and how much she should be exercising. We know that how do we calculate our maximum heart rate? You have to ask the woman to subtract her age from 220. Now for this, you make a target heart rate. Now say if I'm aged 43, I am aged 43. So I will minus 220, I will minus 43 from 220. So whatever I get here, that is say around 177. So out of 177 heart rate, maximum heart rate, first I should start working at a 50% target zone. So you start with the lower part of the target zone, say 50%. So I will work up to 90 beats per minute and then go to 75%. So maybe somewhere around 120, 130. And once say maybe 6 weeks to 6 months of regular exercise if she is adopted, then you can put a protocol with 80% of her maximum heart rate. So this is the dosage, how we are calculating and putting her up on a exercise program, right? But make sure that women who are on antihypertensives should be cautioned, because of these medications, they like beta blockers, they are lowering the maximum heart rate. So it will give you a miscalculation of the target zone. So it's better to consult her doctor, her physician, and use a lower target heart rate as much as possible to work with ladies who are on antihypertensives. You can simply adopt a talk test. That's the simplest way clinically where we can monitor her intensity. So it provides a convenient alternative to monitor her exercise intensity. Say for example, if the lady is being made to walk at 3.5 miles per hour, you ask the woman to talk, but she should be comfortably talking when she is walking on a treadmill with this much speed, but she should not get breathless. So that should be a moderate intensity, right? Now, vigorous aerobic exercise, say you are putting her on a step aerobics. She should be able to speak a few words, right? Maybe not breathless, but she is able to speak a few words, not comfortably talk, but not carry a conversation as we were doing it in a walk test. That is in a walking evaluation. And the benefit of exercising at a target heart rate will increase the fitness and condition of all the other organs. And you will have a record of this intensity so that you progress it stepwise. Now, to come to the conclusion, what the female should exercise, she should exercise what she is enjoying, and it should have a good effect on her quality of life, right? And it is researchers have been put forth that when a woman engages in a comprehensive exercise program, it will definitely help her maintain a healthy body, bone density levels, and even psychologically, she is much engaged. Now, osteoporosis, when we said that is the main ailment of menopause, so it can be kept controlled with exercises because you are maintaining a bone health and a muscle health. So, a moderate exercise will lower the risk of stress, anxiety, depression, along with combating her osteoporosis and heart health. Now, yes, we have said that it improves muscle mass, strength, balance, coordination. So, unlike treatment with medicine, exercise will work simultaneously on various aspects of one's health. Now, this is all about exercise, but it's not only the exercise that is going to help a woman overcome all her problems or be fit. Along with physical exercise, a physiotherapist who's dealing with these women should know what should be the diet prescription for these ladies along with the exercise protocol. So you choose a diet for her that is boosting her estrogen level. Like we have a lot of options. There are, soya milk, soya chunks are there, apples, alfalfa, cherries, potatoes, rice, wheat. All these are should be inculcated in her diet. Calcium rich foods and foods which are rich in vitamin E, green leafy vegetables, almonds, nuts, fiber rich food like whole grains and fresh vegetables. You have to make a diet plan for her. If you have a dietitian in your settings, it's always better to chalk down and you can hand over the charts to her, but that depends again by the dietitian who will evaluate her BMI and then put her on a diet chart. So simple lifestyle changes you can always ask her to adopt, like avoiding caffeine and alcohol, minimum 7 to 8 hours sleep, which is very important. See, one more important thing is you put her on an exercise program, that insomnia thing is not going to pop up. So she will overcome insomnia if you're putting her on an exercise program. Consuming vitamins, practicing breathing, exercising, a balanced diet, and regular exercise program. So to conclude, I would like to say that menopause can be a positive time of life because there are some noticeable changes, uncomfortable changes, but these can be effectively managed with our help. Maybe medicine, suddenly Indian scenario, they may not accept going on a HRT. So we are the best people to help them overcome these exercises to these conditions. So I feel we can help these ladies. And for further, anybody would like to have any details regarding this, because I know that we had only 40 minutes, so I had to overview on this topic. And if any further information is needed, this is my contact details. And I thank Himanshu for giving me an opportunity to talk on this topic. Thank you, Himanshu. Any questions from the participants? You can put it in the chat box.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for such a wonderful evidence-based session on the role of physiotherapy in menopause. And it was an excellent presentation and excellent elaboration and deliberation by the excellent speaker of the day. So we are really grateful to you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise on the topic and even sharing your own research. So that actually matters a lot. And
Thank you.
we learned a lot in that session. Now I would like to request all the participants, if anybody has any query, they can ask, they can write down in the chat box. Because I think in between the session, one two participants were raising the hand. So if they have any query, they can write down in the chat box. And I would like to let you know, ma'am, that we are even blessed to have so many participants. And here the participants are
Yes.
around from 3 countries here to attend your session. My own
Okay.
teachers, Dr. Harsh Rajdeep sir, Dr. Charu Sharma ma'am, and Dr. Ritu Rajdeep
Oh,
ma'am is also here. Dr. Charu ma'am is joining
thank
us
you very much.
long away from the Washington, USA. There are a few
Oh, great.
participants who joins us from the Pakistan, and I think there are a few more participants they are joining us from the Bangladesh even. So we are really thankful. There are few very senior faculty members and academicians also here who joins us for this
Yes.
great session, and we are really grateful to all of them for joining
Okay.
and supporting us. Dr. Kalpana Jutsi ma'am,
Okay.
she is the associate professor in the Jamia Hamdard University, Delhi, and Dr. Jiten Munjal sir, he is a senior physical therapist in the North DMC Medical College, Delhi, and
Thank you.
Professor Sunita Sharma ma'am also joins us here for this great session, and she is the principal of the Jaipur Hospital College of Physical Therapy. So it was really a wonderful and excellent session, ma'am. I think there is one
Thank
or
you.
two
Himanshu,
queries. Yeah,
I have a few questions I would like to, answer them.
yeah, yes.
Uh,
Should I help you, ma'am, or you will?
no, I am having this question where this is from Miss Sunita Sharma. For stress incontinence, stopping the flow of urine is advised. Uh, Sunita, see, you have to diagnose whether it is stress incontinence or urge incontinence first after clinical evaluation. And yes, you can incorporate the measures. See what is causing stress incontinence. Is it her abdominal obesity, or it is because of pelvic floor weakness added with abdominal obesity? So in that case, you'll have to, yes, first is direct, you have to put her on a weight reduction program, but she will not be able to exercise unless you are helping her to control her urine. So you can start with pelvic floor exercises. Now this pelvic floor exercises, you have to measure the strength with measurement. Usually if you are feeling that she has stress urinary incontinence, she will have weakness of her anterior wall. Now start with anterior wall muscle strengthening by digital palpation. You can reinforce or you can biofeedback with the fingers per vaginal, where you are asking her to contract and see the strength, see which muscle is getting weak, strength that muscle. You can use electrical stimulation or interferential therapy in the beginning, because we want the weak muscles to get stronger rather than she contracting the only muscles what she has. So with that you can progress to pelvic floor exercises using instrumentations. You can use perineometer, vaginal cones. Yeah, we have seen that some females are not very comfortable using vaginal cones, but perineometer they are giving good results. But digital method of strengthening is very helpful in these females. But we usually start in our setting. I would start with supine and then go in for standing, and a home program for her pelvic floor exercises. Do's and don'ts are very important when you are dealing with pelvic floor muscle strengthening. I have a second question. Fallopian tube test 2 months back. After that, she is having illness. May I know what is this fallopian tube test, Dr. Vidhi? Okay, we'll wait for her to tell us what that fallopian test is, tube test. I have a question from Avantika. Ma'am, if the woman is suffering from varicose vein, what will the exercise prescription and ways to reduce chances of coronary artery diseases? Avantika, varicosities are like, the veins are already dilated, but with our exercise program, we cannot reduce that dilated veins to normal veins. But with whatever exercises are normally given for a varicose vein person, that same is going to develop collaterals in these females, and you can do most of the collateral, circulation improvement has shown that they have overcome all these symptoms of varicosities. But still, as I said, do's and don'ts are very important where you are telling these females not to put her leg in a dependent position, wearing stockings or, graded stockings. Evaluate what grade varicosity she has, and accordingly you prescribe her that grade compression for her legs, and she has to wear it only when she is in a upright position, right? Because when sleeping we need not give that. She's already into a gravity eliminated position. There you can ask her for elevation. So other exercise what you give for a varicose person, the same can be implemented even for menopausal women. Roopsie, yes. If the female is having irregular menstrual cycle, first she should evaluate why she has that irregular menstrual cycle. For most of adolescent girls, where we are seeing with irregular, one is lack of physical activity, then the PCOS, which is prevailing years by years. So once you find out, but there are studies which are saying that exercise will help in reduction of the cyst. So, but still, it's better to evaluate why her menses are irregular, and then you can put her on a exercise program. Yeah, what are the symptoms and signs of premenopausal period for a woman to understand? Madam Kalpana, premenopausal, say even I'm in a premenopausal period. Now, hot flashes is the main thing which I'm suffering. Running to my college, I have that sudden gush of air. My face becomes red, my hands are sweaty. But I take 10 minutes time to sit, I ask my PDs, 10 minutes, don't talk to me. So that is going to be the first complaint. Other complaints would be irritability is, because we are seeing it in literature, perimenopausal, premenopausal, mood swing rahega, irritable rahenge. So we have to be angry. So that is more psychological and we are reacting to it. But if we have seen that a female who is busy with her work, maybe she doesn't have time for even irritability. So other symptoms are that is also connected to her gravity. If she has had normal delivery, incontinence could be because with the added estrogen loss because of her laxity. Incontinence is one more thing. And as I said, low back pain. Low back pain is a complaint where premenopausal women start complaining. So that is a site where this bone health is going to get affected rather than spreading to the knees directly. So it starts with low back pain and then it also affects the knees. Priyanka, are there special symptoms for early menopause in females? There are no special symptoms as such, but early menopause hot flashes can be lesser rather than premenopausal period. But actually speaking, I have not come across any female with premature menopause, like less than 40. Early menopause, yes, 44, 43 years menopause, I have come across these females, but they do not have as much hot flashes and symptoms. Maybe it must be years after they attain this early menopause, they may start getting the symptoms of bone and cardiac problems. Yeah, Avantika, as I said, to prevent or reduce hot flashes, the exercises, as I told about the Cochrane review, they say that you put on an exercise program and it is helping them to reduce hot flashes, maybe not directly, but it is because of the cyclic effect and the effect of exercise on other systems. So that's what I said, a domino effect. So, but Cochrane review has told, it's a review study, so maybe they have reviewed quite a lot of articles. So it is saying that exercise will help reduce the hot flashes rather than doing nothing for it. Kalpana ma'am, how to rule out that irregular periods are due to this only? Ma'am, one thing is other symptoms of perimenopause should be associated with this. And irregularity can be accepted, but if it is very heavy bleeding or lumpy bleeding, then it should call for seek from a obstetrician, sorry, from a gynecologist. So we cannot say that these irregular periods, but irregular periods with very heavy flow are, you should get evaluated once. But usually the symptoms, other symptoms of perimenopausal are also there along with irregular periods. Then you can say that yes, it is, I'm in a perimenopausal period. Salika, if the woman has come with radiating low back pain, lower to upper region, means from back to thorax, that you mean, what we have to prescribe. Okay, Salika, first is low back pain is a basket of conditions, so you'll have to evaluate whether she's not gone in for a disc problem because of her curvature. See her posture, see her movements, see her special tests, right? And I would say that a female who has back pain in her perimenopausal or a menopausal female, do not go in for sudden spine loading or weight bearing exercise. Supine exercise where her spine is stabilized, can be the first option for exercises. So you should not start directly with standing weights, stepper, or crunches. So you can always deload the spine and exercise her. Ma'am, we have seen that nasal dryness or nasal congestion, even when your nose is blocked, you ask them to jog quickly and it relieves. So if you're putting them on an exercise program, it will definitely relieve nasal congestion and dryness of the nose. So automatically, that's what I said. You put her on an exercise program. We have seen ladies to overcome insomnia problem. Himanshu, any other questions left? Or
I think we have covered all the questions, ma'am. And
okay.
Actually, we had a good interaction, very good queries.
Yeah.
It shows that session was so much interesting, and the participants were continuously attending the session. And very interestingly, we had maintained around 100% attendance during the complete session. And we are also receiving the great compliments from all the participants. Even though I received some good compliments, which I would like to let you know. I also received a excellent compliment from the Professor Sanjeev sir also. And
thank you.
He was also with us during this session. So we are really grateful to all the senior faculty members, and really it was a wonderful session.
Yes.
So
thank you.
One more last question.
Himanshu. And yes, please.
Hemorrhoids during menopause.
Okay, Neha, hemorrhoids, yes, they are a problem because of lack of exercise, lower metabolic rate, constipation, and sometimes due to supplementary calcium intakes also, these constipation and hemorrhoids are seen. But hemorrhoids again should be treated as as a routine hemorrhoid. There's nothing special about hemorrhoids during menopause. Menopause has its own course, so hemorrhoids has to be relieved with whatever surgical methods or